Okay, hello and welcome back everybody. Thanks again for joining today's webinar. Our speaker for today will be Jim Byrne, Product Marketing Manager at Autodesk. He'll be presenting what's new in Autodesk Inventor 2019. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. You've joined today's webinar listening through your computer speaker system by default. If you would like to call in using the phone, simply locate your audio section in your control panel. Select telephone, and the dial-in information and access code will then be displayed. You also have the ability to ask or to submit questions using your questions section also within your control panel. Simply type in your question and click send. Our Q&A staff will be on hand to respond to your questions during the webinar. At the end of the webinar, we'll do a brief Q&A session and address any additional questions that you may have. Also, today's webinar will be recorded. Okay, let's get started. Jim, you now have the floor.
Okay, great. Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for this What's New in Inventor 2019. This is a real exciting time for us. I have a lot of great features and enhancements to show you in the next 45 minutes or so before we get into Q&A. And I think you'll agree that the developers here at Autodesk have done a tremendous job. And let's see, I'm looking at the attendees. We have a large group, and usually with large groups we have a lot of questions. So I've got some good friends with me on the call that many of you are familiar with, and they're going to help to answer some of your questions or interrupt if they have anything to add during the presentation as well. From the product management team, we will have Chris Hall, Lauren Welsh, and Garen Gardner. Lauren Welsh is actually the creator of this PowerPoint deck. And from the product development team, we've got Chris Mitchell and Johnson Shui. And from the product marketing team, we've got Luke Mihalsik and myself. And Luke and I actually both worked on the demonstrations that you're going to see during this session. So you're in good hands. And just like Melissa said, if you have any questions, then just make sure you type them in right away, and we'll try to get to those as we go through the presentation, and we'll cover them at the end as well. Okay. So for those of you who have seen a What's New presentation, the agenda is pretty similar. We're going to cover the enhancements and categories for professional grade, connected, and Inventor experience. And then finally, we'll talk about how to get it and support. Let's see. Now, the focus for Inventor 2019, it's built for today's engineering and design professional. And I can't emphasize this enough that Inventor is customer driven. We take your feedback seriously, and it helps to drive the enhancements like some of them that you're going to see during this presentation. We have a continued focus on improving performance for parts assemblies and drawings, and also automation such as iLogic tools, and core modeling workflows that enable the professional grade mechanical and engineering design. And Inventor 2019 also connects to the Autodesk Cloud for collaboration, design, and supply chain workflows. And we're going to discuss this more later when we talk about shared views and Autodesk Drive, which are available to all Inventor users as a subscription benefit. So again, the focus of Inventor 2019 is to help you to design great products. And as your workflows evolve, so does Inventor. And with 2019, Inventor is focused on professional grade design and engineering, cloud-connected workflows, and the Inventor experience for you as a user. And these are the key areas that we're going to be discussing during this presentation. Starting with professional grade, we know that those of you who are designing and engineering products, you're looking to deliver on innovation and high quality. And Inventor 2019 delivers with professional grade improvements in the areas of design and automation and performance. Starting with performance, we know that performance is important, so we're constantly looking for ways to improve performance in Inventor. So in assemblies, we've sped up things like in-place editing or assembly updates, positional representations, assembly features, or pattern selection, and that's just to name a few of them. And then in drawings, we've improved performance for view creation, design updates from the 3D model, and general navigation. And the results, we're seeing 7-fold performance improvements for 3D sectioning and assemblies, a 35% reduction in compute time, and rebuilds are faster up to 80%. So let's take a look at a few of these improvements. We're going to take a look at this assembly from Balzer Pacific. In the assembly environment, you'll notice immediate improvements when you rotate, zoom, or pan. And many of you prefer to edit your parts and assemblies in the context of the main assembly. It takes less time now to enter and exit the edit mode. And as I mentioned on the slide, section views in the assembly environment are several times faster. Just simply decide where you want the section and view the results in real time as you drag the arrow. And that's just a few things. I'll go ahead and try some of the others that I mentioned, such as area selection and pattern selection. But now let's take a look at drawings. In drawings, you'll see that view creation for base and projected views has improved. We can see the view orientation quicker as you decide the orientation using the view cube, and of course, preview the other projected views as you go. And then any other changes that you make to the assembly, you should expect faster updates in the drawing for Inventor 2019 as well. Now, when working with large assemblies, it's not just about improving the product performance of the software. There are best practices that should not be ignored. The help content for Inventor 2019 and for Inventor 2019 also included updates to a couple of areas, the large assembly best practices and large assembly modeling workflows. And it's going to help you to take advantage of the performance enhancements delivered with this release. And to find these in help, you can just simply search for these bullet items on this slide. They're both very good resources. And iLogic, this is one of my personal favorites. You might not know this, but almost 20% of Inventor users are leveraging iLogic in their designs. And you really should invest some time in it if you haven't already. And it's great to see all the enhancements that have been included with every point release of Inventor. There was a lot of enhancements in Inventor 2018, and in this 2019 release, there's additional code for adding and deleting components and constraints. Now, you might say that you could do this before using suppression and unsuppression, but the item had to already exist in the browser, in the assembly. And so this required more code as the complexity increased in your designs. And it created this glass ceiling of what could be accomplished in terms of your configurable assemblies. And one other thing that we should mention is the capture the current model state has been added, where you can select components and or constraints from the assembly and capture the current state, and the code gets placed in the rules editor for you. This is a huge time saver, so let's take a look at this. Okay, so this is the conveyor that you may have noticed was in the Balzer Pacific assembly. In the parameters, we have an option to turn the chute on and off. And it's not suppressing it, it's actually deleting it and adding it along with the constraints for the location. So let's take a look at the rules editor for this. You can see that we have an if statement for the chute and the constraints. Adding the code is simple. It can be done a couple of different ways. First, we could find the new item in the code snippets list. There's 3 new categories for this release. And when you double click on the constraint type, it adds the code. And then all you need to do is modify it. And it actually gets easier than this too. I don't have it in the demonstration, but you can also select the parts or constraints from the browser and capture the current state to place the code in the rules editor, something we mentioned in the slide. Now, in that previous case, we were using planes to create the constraints for the location of the chute. But what if you want to use the geometry to place the constraint instead? Well, that's something that you can do too. And I'll show you how. For example, here we've got casters that we're turning on and off in this assembly. And those casters are using insert mates using geometry. Well, if we open up the caster, you'll see there's already one in there. I named the edge, the caster edge. If you right-click on any piece of geometry, you can assign a name. And now I don't have it in here, but under the iLogic browser or panel, you have the ability to turn these callouts on and off, hide them and show them. You can see them in a list. And then when you're in your rules editor, just simply place the name of the name of the geometry with that callout in your code. So great new features in the Inventor 2019 release for iLogic. And model-based definition is available inside every version of Inventor since this time last year. And this has been based on demand from customers to streamline manufacturing workflows because it automates the drawing creation process or even eliminates drawings in some cases. Now, with Inventor 2019, MBD continues to be enhanced based on your feedback and industry demands. And this includes face status coloring and automated hole quantity when adding hole annotations. So let's take a look at an example. On this machine part, we have a few 3D annotations that have already been added. And as you have seen in Inventor 2018, these dimensions are easy to apply for standards and orientation. And new in this 2019 release is the ability to turn on face status coloring. And this shows the fully defined geometry in green and partially defined in yellow and in general surface profile tolerances in blue. And as you add new tolerances, the colors will stay up to date on the components as you work. And then another new feature in this release is hole quantity. It's automatically added to the callout based on the pattern or if the holes are created in a hole feature. And this stays up to date with any changes that you make to the number of holes in the pattern. So on to Connected. Inventor 2019 connects to the Autodesk Cloud to enable you to collaborate, design, and communicate your designs in new and powerful ways. This enables you to leverage your design beyond the desktop with simple, secure, and powerful workflows. Let's take a look. Starting with shared views, so we know that engineering teams are constantly challenged to stay connected and informed. And we also know that communication channels still tend to be a barrier. So to address the challenge, Inventor 2019 added shared views. And this is the same component that users are going to see across other Autodesk products as a subscription benefit. And that includes AutoCAD, Vault, Moldflow, and as well as many other manufacturing and architectural solutions. So what does that look like? So here we have a jet engine inside Inventor, and creating a shared view is easy. In the Collaborate tab, you'll find a new Shared Views button, and there's a couple of options in there for hiding component names and part properties to protect your IP, and then let it rip. And then we can view it in the Autodesk Viewer. We'll go to the Add a Comment to jump in there in the interface. This is a great interface for adding section views, exploding your assemblies, and redlining your design. And the Explode view is awesome. It does a good job of automating the process, so all you have to do is drag that bar. And like I said, we can mark it up, add arrows, add notes, and everything that you do in here gets saved in the shared view for others to review. And a link can be copied so others can see it on any device. For example, this iPad. Here I'm logged in as someone else. Now, once these comments have been added, they can be seen by anyone. And not just in the online viewer, but there's also a shared views panel inside Inventor for seeing these comments as well. And it's worth noting that these are visual representations of your designs or models. So in other words, they're always protected. And here you can see the shared views panel right inside Inventor. And speaking of subscription benefits, you can also take advantage of Autodesk Drive. Autodesk Drive is a cloud storage solution that allows individuals and teams to organize, preview, and share design data. And then many of you on the call are already familiar with AnyCAD. Basically speaking, AnyCAD technology enables you to work with files from other CAD systems or even a future release of Inventor without the need to translate the data. And the way it works is Autodesk maintains an associative link to the non-native file. And Inventor continues to expand AnyCAD functionality by adding support for Fusion 360 design files. And this was something that was announced a few months ago at Autodesk University as a technology preview, and it continues as a preview in Inventor 2019. This new AnyCAD workflow, it allows you to take advantage of the power of Inventor and Fusion 360 together, where you can bring Fusion 360 models directly into Inventor for system integration or large assembly design. When the Fusion 360 design is updated, then the changes are consumed in Inventor. Now, in a similar fashion, you can reference Inventor parts and assemblies in Fusion 360 if you're looking for a more cloud-enabled simulation or CAM workflow. And that's because Fusion 360 uses the same AnyCAD technology. So the changes that happen in Inventor will automatically be consumed in Fusion 360 as well. So great new workflows for those of you who are looking to work with Inventor and Fusion 360 together. And now on to Inventor Experience. Some of you know that we launched the Ideas Forum a few years ago, and this allows you to share your thoughts and also have the community provide feedback or vote on them. And that's everything from sketching enhancements, part modeling, tube and pipe. Those customer-focused enhancements can be seen throughout Inventor 2019. We're, for example, improving commands, we're streamlining workflows, we're refreshing existing tools, and many of the enhancements that you're going to see coming up were implemented directly from feedback that was posted on Inventor Ideas, as well as other direct customer engagements. And starting with the whole command. As we're going through and refreshing existing commands in Inventor to utilize the panel in the browser, our goal is to add new functionality and workflows based on your feedback. This is the same approach that was used for the model browser and the measure command panel in prior releases. So with Inventor 2019, that same panel experience was delivered for the whole command. So let's take a look at what it looks like. Okay. So once again, we're going to use the same machine part that we did for the 3D annotations earlier. Adding the holes for your model it's faster than ever with this new interface and the new workflows for adding the hole size, the hole type, the hole location. The locations can be done using a previous sketch that was created, or it could be done right in the hole command. And if you need to edit the locations, there's no need to leave the hole command because there's a placement option right in the panel. So if you're creating a lot of holes in your components, then this is probably your favorite improvement for Inventor 2019. Updates to sheet metal. Nearly 40% of Inventor customers are using sheet metal every day. And Inventor continues to deliver enhancements for it. The mid-plane option has been added for additional flexibility and design intent. And Autodesk also knows that there are changes in demand for manufacturing, and so that's why we've added the new laser weld relief shape. So let's take a look at these two. We'll take a look at the sheet metal part from this printer assembly. And once again, there's a new option when extruding the face of this flange to use a mid-plane direction. And so this can come in handy if this is the design intent that you're going for. And then next we have the corner relief. The new laser weld has been added as an option which it terminates with a tangent arc, and which is a little more suitable for laser cut parts. And you can see that it reflects well in both the folded and flat state of the component. Assemblies. In assemblies, we've got a few things to talk about. Tube and pipe includes an option to lock the hose length. And basically, this defines the spline that's used to create the hose. This can be done manually for any spline. It doesn't have to be used for a hose, where you can edit the sketch and apply dimensions for the length. And I'm going to show this in just a minute. And for those of you who are using Frame Generator, the value is generated by applying a trim or extend command to cut the angles on a frame member are available in iProperties in the Custom tab. And then, of course, that can be included in the bill of materials and parts list as well. And then also in assemblies, there's a new checkbox and the insert command for locking the rotation. And the make constraint contains additional options for aligning components. So let's have a look at all of these assembly enhancements. We'll start with the hose length. Let's get to the other side of this assembly. Now, when editing the hose, we go straight to the spline. And right here, we can either add a dimension or check that box in the hose length dialog for a fixed length. And if the hose is connected to moving components, like in this case, it'll maintain the length when changing the location of the parts. And then constraints, when adding an insert constraint, there's a checkbox in the to lock the rotation of the components. And there's a few things worth noting on this. Number one, you're going to notice an icon that looks like a fastener with a padlock on it for a visual representation of the mate. And this does work really well for things like fasteners. It's not going to help if you need a specific angle. You'll need to add an angle constraint or use the joint command. And I believe that check that you're seeing there it's on the first time you use the insert command, but after that it'll default to the previous time that you added an insert mate, whether you had that checked or unchecked. Now for the aligned mate, after you select your axes, there's 3 new options that show up for opposed, aligned, and undirected. Now, most of you are going to ask, what is undirected? This adds some flexibility. Excuse me. This adds some flexibility to the mate. So if you use undirected and then you add another mate afterward, that mate can be flipped. So you've got some flexibility there as far as what mates you want to drive the alignment of your components. And Migrate custom settings. What this does is it takes your existing customization and application settings into Inventor 2019. This is much easier than working with XML files. If an older version is detected when you install 2019, then this dialog box is going to appear. Now, if you cancel out of this and change your mind later, never fear. You can get to this in the Tools tab and the Options panel. It's the Migrate Settings button. And currently, this supports Inventor 2018 data. And the color scheme editor, this is now installed as part of Inventor 2019. So you can access it from the Application Options color tab. And any customizations that you make are saved to the Application Options XML file. I've got a lot of part enhancements to talk about. These are additional items that came from Inventor Ideas, starting with the extended browser information about the depth and method. They're now displayed in the browser. And this can be turned on and off in the application options in the parts tab. It's the checkbox named display extended information after feature node named in browser. And next we have the inverted fillet. There were over 300 requests for this option. You can now create a convex fillet on inside edges or a concave fillet on outside edges. And this could be an easier approach as opposed to, say, creating a swept boss or cut on more complex parts. And then direct edit. Previously with direct edit, you could only rotate or move a face or feature to another location. When automatic blending is selected or checked, then the total length of a face feature is modified. It's a reblending technology that automatically moves the adjacent tangential faces, and it also creates new blends if they're required. And I'll show you what this looks like in just a minute. And also in parts or sketches, the helicoil curve, that command has been enhanced to support creating a variable pitch and diameter helix. If the variable helix interests you, then keep in mind that the table that's used to create it can be driven by dimension variables from another sketch object. And that way, if the seed dimension is changed, then it's going to update the helix as well if it's used for something like a cut sweep in this case. Okay, let's take a look at a couple part enhancements. Okay, with direct edit, you can see with the automatic blending turned off, we can move the face without moving the entire slot feature. Or in the case of that filleted pocket, we have it on as we rotate that face, or we want to have it on as we rotate that face, and then it will adjust the tangent edges for the fillet surrounding it. And then we have the inverted fillet. In this case, we're creating a convex fillet on an inside edge of this part, or also vice versa, a concave fillet on this outside edge. And by the way, this also works for setback fillets if that's something that you use on your components. The Autodesk Desktop app, what is it? It delivers the products and updates that you're entitled to via maintenance or subscription, and it provides one-click access to your products, which is going to simplify the install process. And this replaces the Autodesk Application Manager. If you don't have this installed, the Autodesk Desktop app, then you can download and install your product updates from your Autodesk account, which is on manage.autodesk.com. And so this would be a good place, by the way, to check to see if you currently have access to the 2019 download. It's been rolling out over the past several days. Make your voice heard. Make it heard by providing your feedback and ideas directly to the Inventor product team. The Inventor feedback community gives you early access to alpha projects and beta versions of Inventor. The Inventor Ideas page is where you can share, you can vote, you can see updates on feedback to improve on Inventor. And it all comes from you, the users of the software. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we have lots of friends on the call, and I have noticed there's a lot of questions that have been coming in, and some of them have been getting answered. This might be a good time to repeat some of those questions and answers that have been coming through. And I want to invite the rest of our team to unmute if you've come across a question that we should repeat to the group.
Hey, Jim, this is Luke. The first question that came up that we were able to answer was when you were reviewing the standards for the GD&T and what those are based on. And So the answer to that is there's quite a few options in there for you to choose from. So there isn't just any one specific standard, but we have ASME, ISO, DIN. So whenever you're setting up your tolerancing scheme and adding that sort of information to your document, you have the option to choose which standard you'd like to follow. So that was one that came up a little earlier.
Thanks, Luke.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look through these myself too.
Another question on the whole command. I don't know if you showed it or not, or if it was in that video, but the idea of can you create whole sets like I always do, like a quarter 20 with a countersink or some other type of whole flavor. Can that be something that you store and repeat over and over again?
The presets?
Yeah. I don't remember. I don't remember you covering it. Just making sure that we talked about presets in there.
You know what? I might have said it real quick, or maybe I didn't. I might have missed that, Luke. But yeah, presets are one of our favorite new enhancements in the whole panel. Yeah, certainly utilize the presets that are available for commonly used holes. Looks like a lot of these have been answered.
Another question was on sharing those shared views. So when you're making those shared views, is that something that you can control, like where those files get stored, that sort of thing? Yeah. So so when you're creating those shared views, you really just need a viewer. So if you go to viewer.autodesk.com, so when that file is shared, whoever receives that file, they can actually look at those shared views, do any kind of markup, annotation, that sort of thing. So.
Okay, we'll give everybody another minute or so. If you have any other questions, feel free to go ahead and type them into your Q&A panel.
Hey, Garen, I don't know if you are still on and want to give an answer, but there was a question that just popped up about the nesting beta. I don't know if you want to just give a quick update on when that might become available. No, I thought he was still on.
He's got some construction going on, so
Oh.
I'm not sure how loud it is over there.
Yeah, so the question was, there was a nesting beta that has been out there for a little while. Those of you that may be going through that beta program, and it is forthcoming. I think it's almost imminent when the nesting inside of Inventor will be available. So stay tuned. I don't know if anybody else, Chris or anybody, has an update on any specific timing, but I know it's really, really close to being readily available.
The collections fulfillment that includes nesting should start to be live as of tomorrow, I believe.
Okay, yeah, I thought it was sometime around the 11th, so that makes sense.
So once that goes live, the nesting beta will essentially be closed down. We'll still keep it open for discussion topics, but the access to the builds from the beta site will be closed down this week.
Okay, cool.
All right, well, I think that brings us to the end of our Q&A session right now. Just a reminder that we will be sharing an on-demand recording of this webcast. On behalf of Autodesk, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.